Alright, so I'm going to talk about the latest news from the competitive Opus Magnum scene. For those of you who don't know, Opus Magnum, which is this Hexagon Factory game, has a tournament that runs every year for the last now 7 years, from roughly January to April. And this year, as with most of the previous years, the host has given us a computation puzzle, which is more difficult than a standard building a product puzzle. To give a flavor of what a computation puzzle looks like, here we have the reagents, which in this case are lead, quicksilver, salt, and an atom that is unknown. And then the product, which is an atom that is unknown but an exact match for the reagent. Accompanying this, Mr. Puzzle created a mod where you could toggle through the 10 possible cases. So we have to make one machine that no matter which of these 10 cases we select will create the output correctly. Now, it seems like it would be very simple to just put this input, which matches this output, onto the output and run that forever. That's a simple machine and it will always work. But the catch of this puzzle is that you forbid grabbing extra templates. If I click that toggle box on, then as soon as I go back to grab a second of this input, the machine errors, it crashes, saying only one template atom can be grabbed. Specifically, this input here is not to be consumed and grabbed multiple times. You are to take one of these and use it to make infinitely many of these. So you have to have a machine that takes the information from this and then builds something else out of the rest of this to run forever. An idea to get you started might be using a duplication glyph to turn salt into whatever the template atom looked like. And I'll put up an example right here. If this arm extends, it can never extend any further. This will run forever. And for fire, it'll create fires. And I'll use this other mod, also at Mr. Puzzle, to run the game at a higher speed until it completes. But it won't work for metals. And let me show you what exactly happens for metals. When the lead doesn't do anything on the projector, I'm putting a salt here on the output, and that, in this mod, forbid output conditionals, also crashes. Incorrect products cannot be submitted. So we need to make something that runs forever, always producing only the correct outputs, using only one template atom. That's our challenge. And this is still difficult, but as a computation puzzle goes, this is the most approachable puzzle that has ever been submitted to a tournament for computation. Many other times there's a solution space of some tens of thousands of examples. This one has 10. So it's possible to click through and verify each one of them. And if you're particularly dedicated, you can build solutions that separately handle all 10 of the conditions. Although to make the most optimized machines, you need to find some way of doing it in low cost, low area, fast, and with few instructions. Because we were scored on an aggregate metric of all of the different statistics you can give about the machines. 56 people, I believe, ended up submitting for this, which is a very large number, especially for a computation puzzle. I'm really excited with how much interest this got from the community, but ultimately I won. I submitted the best everything machine. The puzzle is titled The Amazing Everything Machine. It's to make everything from one. This machine right here, you can see the template atom and its output right here. I'll update them with the mod to show it progressing between metals and cardinals. The machine is completely identical for all 10 cases, and in all 10 of them, it'll create the output indefinitely. To see what happens, we'll start with an example of metal. Copper is a great example. Arm 1 is the first arm to act, and it will load this projection glyph with quicksilver as many times as the template atom is able to take it. Now, the way the game works, if you're not familiar, I'll bring up this diagram. The metals will promote to gold until gold doesn't take any additional promotions. So quicksilver is used to advance along the 6 metal chain. And once you are gold, you can find out a difference in the machine based on this quicksilver not disappearing. So because copper took a quicksilver, it upgraded to silver, silver upgraded to gold, gold can't upgrade any further. So now when arm 1 rotates, this quicksilver goes onto the tile that the lead just moved from, and lead doesn't spawn. What that means is by the time arm 1 reaches the end of the track, where it executes a plus instruction that will forevermore no longer do anything at this plus instruction, so it'll just spin here in place, It has a number of quicksilver in its grabbers equal to the number of quicksilvers that weren't absorbed by this input. So if I put gold, it'll be 5 that weren't absorbed. Their arm 1 is with 5 quicksilver in its grabbers. If I use tin, it'll be only 1 that isn't absorbed because the other 4 all are. So it'll reach that with only 1 quicksilver in the grabbers. If I use any of the cardinals, it'll be identical to gold because you cannot project quicksilver onto a cardinal. So this will look identical to gold, where 5 quicksilver end up in the grabbers. So we can now tell apart the cases of each metal that isn't gold and the rest, which is gold and all of the cardinals. In the cases of, say, tin, for example, the fact that arm 1 is up here with only 1 quicksilver in the grabbers is now perfect because when arm 3 acts, which is one of the latest to start in the machine, it receives all of the elements that are inside of all the atoms that are inside of arm 1 onto the projector and then moves on. Because this thing restocks on quicksilver whenever empty grabbers go over this tile here, that means it'll always provide however many quicksilver it's holding onto this template atom, or this lead atom basically. The lead will turn into a copy of the template. Here I started with tin. If I instead started with silver, I'd end up with 4 quicksilver in the wheel every time it goes around, and arm 3 would gather them up into 1 silver and then go again, and then go again and again and again. It runs forever, and for those metals, it'll always produce the right thing. So then how do you tell gold apart from the elements here? In fact, how do you not produce elements in the cases where you're trying to produce metals at all? That is the role of this animismus side of the puzzle. As we saw with the previous version, the duplication glyph, if it is a cardinal element, will turn salt into a copy of that cardinal. So here, if I use air, arm 6 will grab a salt, and it will turn that salt into air because the template atom is currently sitting on top of the duplication glyph. Now, animismus here will turn 2 salts into Vitae and Mors, but it will not turn anything else into Vitae and Mors. So if the template atom is a metal, by attempting to duplicate, it's the same thing as we saw with the lead in the earliest example. It stays a salt. And if it stays a salt, 2 salts have turned into a Vitae and a Mors. But if it's any of these 4 cardinals, now when arm 6 puts the things on the animismus, they are no longer salt. Which means these 2 tiles are now full of atoms that we know match the output. And in that case, we do 2 kind of clever things. The first one is move it onto the lead at the exact same time that arm 1 moves off of the lead. So just like when arm 1 rotated in place, it didn't cause a lead to spawn here and crash. When arm 4 swings and puts this air atom on top of the lead source, it doesn't crash because it's the same movement cycle that arm 1 moved off. That clever thing prevents arm 3 from ever grabbing a lead in the case of the cardinal. So arm 3 can still just deliver products as though they were metals, except now they are the cardinal that you need to output forever. The other clever thing arm 4 does is it gets rid of the second one by outputting it, which improves the rate of the machine. You could technically throw the other one away. You could do a lot of other things with it, but outputting it faster means that you're producing outputs a little bit more quickly, which did matter for the scoring of this machine. So now if I were to run it forever, it succeeds on any and all of these 10 test cases. And it does so in only 6 arms. In total, I think it was something like 71 instructions. This was the cheapest machine that wasn't submitted, only optimizing really for cost and area. It was not the fastest machine. Somebody had a more expensive machine that cranked through the outputs much more quickly than this, and I did make a couple of variants that were faster than this. But this was the best balance of the things that were scored in the actual the rankings. So yeah, what ended up happening is, once again, there was a computation puzzle, and once again, I was the person to create the best machine in the world for this kind of thing. It does blow my mind a lot that I can kind of consistently show up and do really well in computation puzzles, having won more than I have not won. It's kind of my favorite thing to do in this game, and I'm glad I got to talk about it. Thank you.